Welcome to The Savage Truth with Cicely Davis. I am your host, Cicely Davis.
Welcome back with your savage selves to The Savage Truth. I am your host, Cicely Davis. I am so grateful that you've decided to join me in yet another episode 130 to be exact. Thank you so very much. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for making the decision to join me, to join in on the conversation. Please bring somebody else with you. Come on back. I'd love to have you, make you a part of the Savage audience. For those of you who have been the ride or dies, you've been returning every week and joining in on a regular basis, thank you so very much for making that decision on a weekly basis to join me. I wouldn't be able to do this without you. Now, I have an ask, and it is this. Real simple. Whether you're new or returning, to please like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And help me in keeping this thing going. I love being with you. Now, we need to jump into this dealio, starting with episode 130, because Donald Trump is pulling no punches. He's warning Putin that he is absolutely playing with fire. Now, Donald Trump, like I said, isn't pulling punches these days, and he sent a clear message to Vladimir Putin. You're playing with fire. Now, after Russia's latest drone blitz on Kiev killed over dozens of people, Trump lit up Truth Social with some classic Trump-style candor, calling the Russian leader crazy in all caps, and reminding everyone that if he weren't in the picture, things would have gone south for Russia a long time ago. Now, what those really bad things are, let's talk about it. He didn't say, but if you're Vladimir Putin, you probably don't want to find out. Now, of course, Trump's taking heat for not going full Biden style on sanctions. But let's be honest, Biden's sanctions first, ask questions never policy has been about as effective as Kamala Harris's explaining foreign policy at a press conference. Okay. Trump, by contrast, has played the long game, keeping sanctions in his back pocket like a good negotiator that he is. Not because he's soft on Russia, but because he actually knows how to make deals. He is the greatest negotiator that I have ever seen. And now that Putin's rattling the saber a little too hard, Trump's threatening to bring the hammer down. Strategically, of course. The irony here, the left used to scream that Trump was Putin's puppet. This is all you used to hear. He's Putin's puppet. He's afraid of him. He won't go up against him. He's reluctant. You know, fast forward to today, and it's Trump demanding ceasefires, blasting drone strikes, and warning that the Russian bear has gone berserk. Even Chuck Grassley and Lindsey Graham are urging tough action. And Trump hasn't ruled that out. What's different, you ask? What's different this time? Well, Trump's approach doesn't involve blank checks to Ukraine and endless war. It's about peace through strength, not weakness through bureaucracy. Let's also not ignore the root of all this chaos, Joe Biden. He is the root of everything we're dealing with here. This war didn't start under Trump, and it wouldn't have even been here, wouldn't have even been an issue were he still in office, Donald Trump meaning. But under Biden's watch, the world's gone sideways, from Afghanistan to Ukraine to the gas pumps and back home. Trump's warning Putin not because he wants a fight, but because, unlike Biden, he understands the real leadership and understands that real leadership isn't about looking tough for the cameras. It's about being tough when it counts, when it actually matters. And when it comes to protecting American interests and getting a real peace deal done, believe me, Trump's still the only adult in the room. Now, I know you all have heard about this. I have to talk about it because Democrats are deciding to spend some money. They want to spend millions to learn how to speak to American men to win back the working class. This is how clueless they are, okay? This gives you true insight as to how detached and how clueless the Democrat Party actually is. And what might be the most unintentionally hilarious political experiment of the year, Democrats have lit $20 million on fire trying to figure out how to talk to American men. You know, the ones with jobs and calluses and a working knowledge of how to change a tire. Okay, actual men, right? Now, according to New York Times report, liberal strategists are tucked away in luxury hotels because nothing screams man of the people like $19 room service coffee, crafting a secret plan codenamed SAM, S-A-M, speaking with American men. Now, apparently, they're now studying working class guys the way David Attenborough narrates documentaries about lions. The plan includes everything from analyzing syntax and language in so-called male spaces to running ads inside video games. I can't even get through this. It's just hilarious. Yes, they actually think a few woke pop-ups in Call of Duty will make Bob the welder forget about gas prices, forget about inflation, forget about his family, and the fact that his favorite steak costs more than his car payment. Democrats think if they just drop the moralizing tone, they'll win these guys back, win American men back. This is what they think. Here's an idea, Dems. I'll help you out here. I'm going to give you some tips. Maybe try dropping the lectures on toxic masculinity while you're at it. That'd be a great start, okay? What's truly amusing is the party of identity politics suddenly realizing that men, especially working class men, are done being talked down to like children. These are the folks who watched Democrats close their factories, shut down their jobs during COVID, and then call them extremists when they complained. And now Chuck and Nancy want to buy a few Xbox ads and call it outreach. That's not a strategy. It's a sitcom plot, okay? Meanwhile, Trump didn't need a $20 million focus group to connect with these voters. He just showed up. He talked straight and actually listened. That's what scares Democrats most. Not just that they've lost the working class man, but that Trump speaks their language fluently, without consultants, without caviar or code names. Maybe next time, instead of Sam, the left could just try a little common sense. But knowing them, they'll probably call it Project Macho and still wonder why nobody's buying what they're selling. Now let's talk about CBS's Scott Pelley, who stirred up the liberal beehive with his recent commencement speech at Wake Forest, where he dared, yes, dared, to say out loud what half of America already knows. There's a growing fear to speak in this country. Naturally, the professional outrage class lit their hair on fire because someone in the media finally acknowledged that free speech has been quietly strangled by cancel culture and political correctness. Now, imagine that. Imagine that. A mainstream journalist noticing that Americans are walking on eggshells just to say basic truths without losing their jobs or their friends or their bank accounts. Welcome to the party, Scott. We've been shouting this from the rooftop for years, but glad you finally made it to the barbecue. Now, of course, the irony is rich here. Here's a guy who works for a network that practically invented the phrase fact-checked in real time, translation censored if you disagree with us, suddenly realizing that maybe silencing half the country hasn't been great for democracy. Still, credit where credit's due. It takes guts to drop a truth bomb at a liberal university where half the students probably majored in feeling studies and the other half were still recovering from Trump derangement syndrome. Scott might be a little late to the free speech defense squad, but if he keeps this up, they might revoke his media card. Or worse, invite him on a panel with Joe Rogan. Now, let's report some news in pop culture, because there's more going on in the world besides politics, believe it or not. We reported on the Diddy case last episode, but we need to talk about the Karen Reed case in this one as well. So if you haven't heard, the Karen Reed case is a biggie that has grabbed all kinds of attention. Karen Reed is currently on trial as well. The Karen Reed case centers around the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe, who was found unresponsive in a snowbank outside a fellow officer's home on January of 2022. Now, Reed, his girlfriend at the time, is accused of striking him with her SUV and leaving him to die in the cold. She has pleaded not guilty to charges including second-degree murder and vehicular manslaughter. The case has gained national attention due to its explosive allegations of a police cover-up, mishandled evidence, and misconduct by investigators. The defense claims O'Keefe was beaten inside the house and that Reed is being framed to protect others in law enforcement. The trial has become a flashpoint for concerns about justice, about institutional integrity, and transparency within the criminal justice system. So here are some of the facts, again, in case you aren't familiar with this case or Karen Reed herself. Now, Karen Reed, as I said, is facing second-degree murder charges and the possibility of life imprisonment for the January 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Reed pled not guilty to allegedly ramming O'Keefe with her Lexus SUV and leaving him to die in a snowstorm following a drunken argument. The judge declared a mistrial after jurors were unable to reach a verdict last year. Reed's defense includes Alan Jackson, Robert Alessi, David Yannetti, and Victoria George. Hank Brennan is the special prosecutor representing the Commonwealth testimony, which is entering its 6th week, with the prosecution calling Dr. Judson Welcher to the witness stand. Now, the Karen Reed case is now in retrial, okay? The retrial of Karen Reed has entered its pivotal phase, focusing very heavily on forensic evidence to determine the cause of Boston police officer John O'Keefe's death. Reed intentionally struck O'Keefe with her SUV, according to the prosecution, and left him to die in a snowbank. Key evidence includes data from Reed's vehicle indicating she reversed at high speed, and plastic fragments found on O'Keefe's clothing allegedly matching materials from her Lexus. And additionally, experts' testimony from Dr. Isaac Wolf, a Yale-educated brain surgeon, suggests that O'Keefe's fatal injuries were consistent with a fall onto frozen ground, raising questions about the prosecution's narrative. Now, that is according to The Guardian, according to Fox News, and the New York Post alike. The defense counters with claims of a police cover-up alleging that O'Keefe was beaten inside a fellow officer's home and left to die in the snow. They also point to misconduct by lead investigator Mike Proctor, who was dismissed from the Massachusetts State Police after sending derogatory texts about Reed and mishandling the case. Reed's legal team is pursuing an appeal in the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that 2 other charges against her should be dropped due to double jeopardy, citing that jurors in the first trial were unanimously in favor of acquitting her on those specific charges. So here's my commentary on that, because we have all these cases going on, and it's just really important. We're in the midst of this trial to not draw any conclusions. But from a pro-law enforcement conservative perspective, okay, the Karen Reed case is a reminder that while every defendant deserves due process, we must also respect the difficult and often thankless job our police officers perform every day. Okay, the rush to accuse law enforcement of a cover-up based largely on speculation and social media narratives undermines the credibility of our institutions and risks turning public sentiment against those who risk their lives to protect us on a regular basis. John O'Keefe was a respected member of the Boston Police Department. Nothing changes that. And the prosecution's case is built on forensic evidence and witness testimony, not conspiracy. So until all the facts are presented in the court, we should be cautious about drawing conclusions that could unfairly tarnish the reputation of law enforcement specifically. Now, this last segment is really personal to me. As you know, we lost the Honorable David Horowitz, and there was a memorial for him a celebration of life. He led in a very incredible, accomplished life. He was an incredible, accomplished hero, the name in which this podcast is supported, the one and only Mr. David Horowitz. He had a life celebration memorial honoring his legacy and his life work, and a very special video was created for him. So please watch.
It is a facet of our nature that we think and we act as though we are going to live forever. Consequently, we do not pay enough attention to the people we love who are here beside us. In our conversations with them, we are often distracted by other things going on in our lives. But when they are gone, we would give anything to have them back, to continue the conversation, any conversation.
We lost a legend yesterday, David Horowitz. David Horowitz was a mentor and a friend of mine.
David Horowitz.
David Horowitz
is the author of more than 50 books.
A true freedom trailblazer.
He was a former communist.
The original Why I Left the Left guy.
His latest book, The Black Book of the American Left.
If his earlier years were marked by rebellion against the establishment, these years were marked by devotion.
If I have a mission in my life at this point, it is to wake the American people up.
What is it that you want to wake people up to, David?
Civilizations die when they cease to believe in themselves. They lose the will to defend themselves and thus the will to survive. America is under attack by forces that are both secular and religious. And the chief weapon of the enemies of America that are secular is race. You condemn Hamas
Would I condemn Hamas?
as a terrorist organ, genocidal organ.
Are you asking me to put myself on a cross? If I say something, I'm sure that I will be arrested for reasons of homeland security.
I'm a Jew. The head of Hezbollah has said that he hopes that we will gather in Israel so he doesn't have to hunt us down globally. For it or against it?
For it.
Who is the enemy for you?
I don't see anybody as the enemy. I think that people have forgotten the principles on which this country was based. When I was a kid, there was this phrase, regardless of race, color, or creed. An American is somebody who doesn't look at your origins. We're a nation of immigrants that way. We live in a democracy in which people disagree with each other so profoundly that we have to impose on ourselves a certain tolerance. I think if we make more of an outreach, insisting on dialogue, insisting on civility, a center could be recreated in American life. The most important freedom we have, it actually begins with religious liberties, freedom of conscience. There's no more important fight than defending the freedom of people to disagree with you. The fact of the matter is society reflects who people are. The real problem is us. The same people who cause all the misery in the world are going to be the people who lead your revolution.
You said my head doesn't have a lot of hope, something to that effect about
That's
the
right.
future. But what about your
My
heart?
head, when my head is in conflict with my heart, I follow my heart. So I'm going to fight till I drop. We are black and white and brown, but we all bleed patriot red. That is the American idea.
Well, I'm doing this as a very special tribute to David Horowitz, who was a great man, a great patriot. He wrote like no other, and he understood life like nobody else did. Very, very special. I want to just extend my warmest thoughts and condolences to April and his wonderful family. And as everybody in there knows, I know Ben, and Ben is a great, great person. And while I don't know the rest of the kids so well, I know that the genetics are perfect. But it's a very sad day for everyone, very sad, but he led a great life. He truly loved our country, and he did things that were really amazing. He changed his philosophy over the years, you know. He was a little bit on the left side and he went a little bit on the right side, but he knew it better than anybody, and we're proud of him. And he's looking down on you, and he's proud of you, and he loved his family. More than anything else, he loved his family. So I just want to pay my highest condolences, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And just give my regards to everybody. I have a lot of friends that are there. Give my regards to everybody. Thank you very much.
Yes, I am so honored to have made the final cut in this hero's legacy. May God bless him, his family, this podcast, the Freedom Center, all associates and staff and board members, and most importantly, his legacy. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a positive review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And remember, as always, to be bold, be strong, be faithful, be true. Till next time, I'm Cicely.
The Savage Truth with Cicely Davis is a production of Front Page Magazine and the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Reproduction of this podcast without express written consent is prohibited.